Hello, viewers. Good afternoon. So today I want to tell you about a woman named Amina. She was 27 years old. She was healthy. She had a job. She had a husband who loved her. She had a family. Sorry, please, I was having a network issue. So I said, her name is Amina. Um, she's 27 years old. She was healthy. She had a job. She had a husband who loved her. She had a family who prayed over her belly every single week. She was pregnant, yeah, 7 months, and that was her first child. But she died. Not in a village with no hospital, not in a place with no doctors, in a town with clinics, with nurses, with antenatal appointments, she never missed. She died because nobody listened to her. I have been thinking about Amina for a long time, about what her last few weeks must have felt like, trying to explain that something was wrong, being told it was normal, going home, trying again, being sent home again. That is what we're talking about today, not in a theory, not as a statistics. We are going to walk through her story, what happened, why it happened, and what could have changed everything. And here is why it matters to you personally right now. um, what happened to Amina is not rare. It is a pattern, and it may already be happening to someone in your life, maybe in your community where you live, but it may one day be relevant to you. And so I need you to stay with me for this few hours, and because I promise you what you learn today will one day be different. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am glad you're here. And if you're just joining us, drop a hello in comments and tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing your cities and your countries. So, and if someone sent you the link, text them with thank you right now, because they may have just done something very important um, for your life. My name is Loretta Sibyl, and I am part of the DOTakeAction family. And this is our safe delivery project. Every week we show up here to talk about things that matters, real health, real stories, and tools that you can actually use. Today is a special section, and I have planned every minute of it. So we are going to go deep on maternal health, Amina's story, the warning signs, what good care looks like, your rights as a patient, how to advocate for yourself and the people you love, and somewhere in the middle, we are going to hear from some of you, and also we are going to hear from some of you in the comments. So buckle up because this is going to be what it is. Let me tell you about Amina's properly from the beginning. I know about Amina through a colleague, a nurse who works in a semi-urban clinic about an outside a major city, not a remote village, not a place without resources, the kind of area where people assume healthcare is accessible. And technically, it is. There is a hospital, there are nurses, there are antenatal clinics that run every week. Amina was the kind of woman who did everything right. Everything she registered for antenatal care at 12 weeks. She went to every single appointment. Even when she was tired, even when work was difficult, she had already washed and folded the baby's clothes. She had the hospital packed by on her 6 months, and she had already chosen a name. She had already decided she wanted to breastfeed. She read about it. She had asked her mother, asked her sister, her friends. She was preparing, as Amina was she was ready to welcome her baby. Around that 7 months, week about week 29 to week 30, yes, something started to shift. It was it was subtitled at first because it was subtle at first because she had felt more tired than usual, but not ordinary tired. So she described it to her husband as a heavy kind of tired, like something was pressing on her from the inside. Then the headache started, not every day at first, yeah, because she was always complaining to her husband that she's having a headache, so she felt it was the normal pregnancy symptom. So 3 times a week. So and whenever this headache happened, she normally take paracetamol. But this time it was different. So she had to to go to the hospital for checkup. So and then like she had this thought that oh I need to go to the hospital because I don't understand. Normally when a woman is pregnant, they feel this headache, they feel it's normal, and so they just decide to take paracetamol. But this time again, her feet began to swell, which is normal for pregnant women, and so and also some swelling in the third trimester. Like I said, it's completely normal. So but she wasn't alarmed. But her husband noticed, yes, her husband noticed that her face looked different, like puffy, and nose and lips, everywhere was just puffy. So and and these symptoms happened especially like mostly in the morning. And then there was this chest pressure she was always experiencing at night. And so when she lay on her back, she felt like something was sitting on her chest, and so she couldn't quite breathe properly. So she told herself it was the baby pressing on her lungs. And so she went to the clinic. She sat she sat in the waiting room for about 2 hours, and this time the clinic was busy. Lots of patients, doctors, nurses attending to patients, and so she saw one nurse, and then explained her symptoms: the headache, the swelling, the tiredness, the pressure in her chest, and then the nurse said it's normal, you know, you're pregnant, your body is working hard, so just rest more, drink enough water, and then come back next week for your routine check. So she went home. The headache got worse, and so a week later she went back, a different nurse this time, and Amina was more insistent. She said something just didn't feel right. So she used those exact words, something doesn't feel right. The nurse listened. No, do this live session like you're the one talking. I told her. So a week later, she went back, a different nurse this time, and Amina was more insistent than then, and she said something just didn't feel right. But because the doctor asked her to like go on, she felt okay. The nurse, sorry to say, the nurse knows what she was doing, but she wasn't comfortable, and so she used those exact words, like something doesn't feel right. So the nurse listened. Like I said, this time she went to another hospital, and so they took her blood pressure, and yes, the critical part, the reading was elevated, but the nurse looked at it and said it's a little high but not dangerously, so come back if it gets worse. You can imagine. She went home again, and her husband was worried. He took a day off and then drove her to a different clinic, a slightly larger one, proper doctor. And so the doctor was overwhelmed and 15 patients were already in the waiting room. So when he saw Amina, he checked her quickly. Her blood pressure was higher now. And so he nodded and then he took her to, he told her to reduce salt, told her to rest well as usual, drink lots of water, and then come back in a week. And he did not even test her urine. He did not even refer her to a specialist. And so Amina went home. 3 days later, Amina had a seizure in her bathroom. Her husband found her on the floor, and by the time the ambulance came, by the time they reached the hospital, she had lost consciousness. She was rushed to the emergency room, and that was where her son was delivered, though through C-section. And so her husband found, and so she she was delivered through C-section, and she gave birth to a baby boy at about 31 weeks, and the baby weighed 1.4 kilograms. And so he spent the first 11 weeks of his life in an NICU incubator through um, um, by breathing through tubes. You know, the baby was actually fighting to survive, but the mother, Amina, never woke up. So what Amina had was called preeclampsia. It is a pregnancy complication characterized by high blood pressure and signs of damage to other systems, most commonly the liver and kidneys. It is one of the leading causes of maternal death globally. And here is what I need you to understand about preeclampsia. It is detectable, it is treatable. Women survive it every single day when it is caught in time. A urine test for protein, consistent blood pressure monitoring, a referral to a higher level of care, and that is what Amina needed. That is what she didn't get. And imagine her going to 3 healthcare visits, and they kept on telling her to go home to rest. That is a normal pregnancy symptom. So she missed those 3 opportunities, because if they had listened to her, she would have been alive today. And somewhere in that chain, the system failed her, not because anyone was evil, but because she was dismissed, because um, her pain was unbearable. You know. Oh, sorry for the network. So, because the urgency of what her body was trying to say was lost in the business and the assumptions of people she trusted to help her. So this is the story of Amina, and now let us talk about why and what to do, and what we are to do about it. Some of you may be saying, most of the viewers watching might be saying, "Oh, this happens to someone I knew. This happens to my sister, my brother's wife, my neighbor." Yes, this can happen to anyone, but your presence here matters. As you're watching this, your presence matters, because the story, the fact you made it, someone is if someone is watching this right now, you really need to, you know to to tell your neighbors about about this. And you can also use Amina's story to share to other people that are suffering from this, because every pregnant woman um, doesn't need to die because of what happened to Amina. So Amina is not an isolated case. I want you to to really hear me on that. She is a pattern. She represents something that is happening every day in cities, in towns, in places with hospitals and clinics and trained healthcare workers. So let me give you a picture of the scale without throwing numbers at you. I want you to imagine a bus, like a full packed bus, about 60 to 70 people. So imagine that bus full of people and then gone, like every single day. So that is the number of women who die from preventable pregnancy related causes globally every day. Like just imagine that, like a full box. And the vast majority of those deaths, experts say over 70%, and over 70% are preventable. So with the right information, with the right care, with the right response from people around them. So why does a woman go to three clinics and still come home to die? I want to be honest with you, because I think that is the only way this conversation is useful. There are systemic reasons: overwhelmed health workers, underfunded clinics, inadequate equipment, healthcare systems, and that's why not designed with women at the center. These are real, these are serious, and they require policy change. So government investment, systemic reform. These conversations matter, and I will not dismiss them. But there are also things we can change right now, without a government, without policy, without waiting. And the first thing is this: we do not take women's pain seriously. I mean that as a culture, as communities, as families. When a pregnant woman says something doesn't feel right, too often, like, the response is not just pregnancy. When she insists, when she's told she's being dramatic, being anxious, being a first time mother. Amina was not dramatic. Amina's body was in crisis. Her body was giving every signal. The school and the people around her, the trained professionals she trusted, interpreted those signals as normal discomfort. Telling her is normal. She's just being dramatic because it's her first pregnancy. So there is a name for the pattern. Researchers call it maternal minimizations. So the consistent tendency to downplay the severity of a pregnant woman's syndrome is not unique to any one country or culture. It happens everywhere and it is deadly. And then the second thing, and this one we can directly fix today, is knowledge. Many women and their families simply do not know what the warning signs are. They have not been taught, and because they don't know what is normal, and, and what is normal, what is dangerous, they cannot push back, they cannot insist, they cannot say with authority, I need you to test me, to test me for this, right now. And so that is what this section is about. And by the time we are done today, we will know, and knowledge changes everything. So the fourth thing I want to name is the silence we keep in our communities. We don't talk about maternal death. We grieve privately and then we move on. We don't say out loud, this was preventable and this didn't have to happen. We don't demand accountability, we don't demand better, and that silence protects the problem. It keeps it invisible, and when we talk like we are doing the right thing, we break that silence, we make the visible, and that is the beginning of change. Now, I also want to talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: the role of the people around the pregnant woman, partners, mothers, mother in laws, friends, colleagues. In many cases, um, it is not the pregnant woman herself who noticed that something is wrong first. It is someone who loves her, someone who pays attention to her, someone watching her face changes, someone noticing that she seems off, someone who says this isn't normal, let's go get checked. So Amina husband noticed her face was puffy. He was worried, and that was why he took her to the clinic. He was present all through, but he also accepted the dismissal because we all say the doctors are right. But because the professionals told them it was fine, what he didn't know and what none of them knew was that he was allowed to push back, and that he could have said, "No, I want to see. I want her seen by a doctor. I want a urine tested, and I want a referral." So you are allowed to push back. You are allowed to advocate. That information, that is knowledge, and that you have that right. Yes, it's something that we need to give to every family that has a pregnant woman in it. So, okay, so I need you to also pay full attention to. I want you to get out. That is, I want you to get out of your phone, not to scroll, but to take notes or screenshot this up because we are going to go through 7 warning signs of serious pregnancy and complications. And these are signs that your body is in distress and the signs that you need to be seen not tomorrow, not next week, but now. So I'm going to speak slowly through each one because I want them to live in your memory. The warning sign number one, we have severe headache. Severe headache, I mean the kind of severe headache that doesn't go away, and even when you take paracetamol, it keeps on occurring and occurring. So I want to be specific here. Um, like I said, I'm talking about the headache. You know, there are sometimes that when you're having headache, even when you take paracetamol, you see it keeps on occurring. Like it's different from the normal regular headache. So, if in case you're having such headache, please I would advise you to, especially for a pregnant woman, we advise to seek for medical checkup. And then the warning sign number two, sudden severe swelling, which is also normal for pregnant women. You know, you see their feet, their hand swell, but there are some kind of swelling that also need a medical checkup, especially in your face. Like I said, your face and your hands and swelling parts of the feet and ankles in the third trimester is common and can be normal, but sudden swelling of the face like puffiness around the eyes, swelling of the lips, swelling of the hands that makes it hard to close your fist. So that is not normal. So and that is and it means that your body is sending a signal that something is wrong with your blood pressure or your kidneys. So please do not ignore it. Please do well to seek medical attention. And then we also have warning sign number three. We have vision changes, blurry vision, seeing spots or flashy lights, temporary loss of vision in one of both eyes. Your vision, so you know, your vision should not be significantly changing during pregnancy. So if you're seeing things that hasn't there, or if your vision seems foggy or unstable, that is a neurological warning sign. So you go to hospital, not your regular clinic, a hospital with the ability to monitor you today. So please do well to visit a hospital. And then we have warning sign number four, pain in the upper right side of the abdomen, under your ribs on the right. This is easy to dismiss because it can feel like heartburn or like the baby is kicking. But persistent pain in the upper right abdomen, especially if it feels tender to press, can be a sign that your liver is under stress, and this is serious, so it needs to be evaluated. And then we also have warning sign number five, reduce fetal movement by around 28 weeks. You know, your body has established a pattern of movements. You know how active your baby usually is. So if there is a significant reduction, if the baby seems quiet than usual, for a full day or more. Do not wait and see. Go to the hospital and ask for fetal monitoring. Keep counting is a simple free technique that every pregnant woman from 28 weeks should know about. So ask your midwife how to do it at your next appointment. And then for warning sign number six, bleeding. So any vaginal bleeding during pregnancy that has not been explained by the doctor, go and be seen. Spotting in every early pregnancy can sometimes be normal, but bleeding in the second or third trimester or heavy bleeding at any stage is a reason to seek medical care immediately. So do not manage it at home. Please do not wait until it's normal. Do well to visit the doctor. And then the last we are on the warning sign number seven, we have high fever. Your immune system functions differently during pregnancy. You know, your body is being careful not to reject the baby, and this means infections. As it means that infections can actually escalate faster than they would normally. So the temperature above 38 degrees Celsius that lasts more than a day, or any fever that comes with chills, uh, confusion, or difficult breathing needs to be seen. And don't wait until you feel it is normal. Please do not visit a doctor. Now, I want to add something to those seven signs, because the signs alone are not enough. You also need to know what to do when you see them, especially if the person you trust to help you dismisses you. So you're allowed to say, I don't feel right and I need you to take me seriously. So you're allowed to ask, what is my blood pressure? Because if you go for a blood pressure, you need to know, oh, is my blood pressure low or high? Is it normal? So you need to know all those things, and then also you also need to know your test your urine. You know, like what is is the result of my urine? Can I be referred to a specialist? So you're allowed to say, I was here last week and I was sent home. I am back because I am still not well. You are allowed to ask for second opinion. You are allowed to go to a different facility. You are allowed to bring someone with you who will advocate alongside you. And if someone tells you that you're being dramatic, that you are the nervous, that you're nervous first time, you are a nervous first time mother, and that it's just pregnancy. You look them in the eye and say, please check my blood pressure anyway. So I want to say something also that might feel uncomfortable, but it's very important. The fact that Amina went to three different clinics and was sent home is not just a failure of those individual healthcare workers. It is a failure of a system that did not equip those workers with the urgency. The protocols, the time, or the culture of listening that would have saved her life. But here's what I also believe. The more educated women and families are, the harder it is to dismiss them. And when you walk into a clinic and say, my blood pressure has been elevated for 3 days, I have problem in my urine, I need to be seen for preeclampsia, that is a different conversation than walking in and saying, I don't feel well. Knowledge is power, and knowing the language changes the encounter. So please learn the signs, know the words, and teach them to the people around you. Um, so we spent a lot of time on what goes wrong, and I also want to spend time on what good care looks like, because I I don't want you to leave this section with only fear. I want you to leave knowing what to expect, what to ask for, what to demand. Good antenatal care means that every visit someone takes your blood pressure. Yes, so if you're visiting a clinic, every appointment you have with a doctor, you need to check your blood pressure. You need to check it consistently because it's very important, and not just once at the beginning of the pregnancy. Like, as in every pregnancy, that is from the beginning of when you find out you're pregnant till um, till 9 months. It's always good to check your blood pressure, and so it's and then it also check your urine. Yeah, you check your urine also. It's very important to check your urine for protein at regular intervals. That is also important, especially from 20 weeks onwards. It means that you are asked about your emotional well-being and not just your physical symptoms. It means you have every appointment with information, not just a date for the next one. So good antenatal care means you are treated as an intelligent adult who is capable of understanding what is happening in in your own body. It means your questions are answered, and then it means the person caring for you has time for you. So good family and community support means that the people around a pregnant woman are not just excited about the baby. They are watching out for her. Her partner is noticing if she seems off. Her mother is asking about more than just bump size. Her friends are checking in, not just with her as the baby, but with how are you? Hope you're good. How are you feeling? So those are the kind of questions that you should be asking a pregnant woman. So there is a concept I love, the cycle of care. A pregnant woman should have a cycle of people who know the warning signs, who knows her baseline, um, who reacts if something seems wrong. So you can build that cycle on purpose. You can decide right now who is in your cycle, and also you can share what you've learned today with every single person in it. And then good postnatal care is something we almost never talk about, and it is a huge gap. So the risk to a mother does not end the moment the baby is born. In fact, some of the most dangerous complications happen in the house and the days after delivery. Um, we all know it as postpartum hemorrhage, excessive bleeding after birth, postpartum preeclampsia, which can develop even in women who showed no signs during pregnancy. Postpartum, we also have postpartum infection. So these are real, these are serious, and they require monitoring. So a woman who has just given birth needs monitoring, she needs support, um, and also an healthcare provider who checks on her, not just on the baby. So if a partner, a mother, a friend, your job is not over when the baby arrives. Your job intensifies. Yes, you also check on her, you check on the baby and also on the mother. So I also want to talk about the mental and emotional dimensions of maternal health because it gets ignored. So pregnancy is joyful for every parent, for many people. So if it is also a time, what it is also a time of profound change, physical, hormonal, relational, financial. So it is normal to feel anxious, it is normal to feel overwhelmed, it is even normal to feel some and to feel some fear. But when that anxiety is consistent, sorry, if when that anxiety is constant, when the fear becomes encompassing, when you are crying every day and don't know why, when you feel disconnected from your body or your baby. So these are the signs that you may need additional support. Perinatal mental health during and after pregnancy. It is real clinical area and it matters, but please don't suffer in silence. Always speak up if anything is bothering you. And also after birth, we also postnatal depression. It happens. It affects many pregnant women. And so if you're suffering from postnatal depression, it affects about roughly in 1 or 5 new mothers. So it is not a weakness. It is a medical condition, and it can happen to anyone. And so if it responds to treatment, if you're struggling after your baby arrives, please talk to a healthcare provider. Please talk to a healthcare provider. So I want to come back to Amina one more time. Her son her son, I'll call him Daniel, is alive. He's 4 years old now and he's being raised by his father, Emmanuel, and his grandmother. He has never met his mother and he will never will. So, by all accounts, Daniel is joyful, he's loud, curious child. He loves toy cars, he loves music, he laughs easily, and he has his mother's eyes. Emmanuel will say yes, that is his father will like, oh, you carry your mom's eyes. So Emmanuel still lives in the same house and he still has the hospital bag hanging packed. He hasn't even been able to move it. So he told my colleague who has stayed in touch with the family that what hurt him is not the loss itself. As devastating as it is, what hurt him is the smallest of what could have changed it. A urine dipstick test, you know, 2 minutes of attention. One nurse who believed her, but he said she kept telling them something was wrong. I mean, I know she was telling them something was wrong. She doesn't feel right, but she was asked to go home. They didn't listen to her. They didn't pay attention to her complaint, and so they dismissed her. So I don't tell you this to break your heart. Although if your heart is breaking right now, that is appropriate. I tell you this because I want Amina's name to do something useful. Yes, I want her name to do something useful. So I want the story of her life and her death to save someone else. So the next time a pregnant woman in your life says something doesn't feel right, I want you to remember Amina. I want you to say, then let's go get checked. Right now, I'll come with you. That is it, and that is the whole thing. That moment, that decision he took to believe her and act. So I know it's the moment that will change everything. So when a pregnant woman tells you I don't feel like, please you just need to attend to her immediately and do the necessary things that you're about to do. And I also want to leave you with things you could actually do, not someday, not eventually, but things that you can start today. If you're pregnant right now, number one, know your blood pressure numbers. Yes, you should know your blood pressure numbers. What was it at your last appointment? Ask, write it down, track it at every visit. A reading above 140/90 is a threshold that needs immediate attention. So you know this number the way you know your phone number. And then number two, track your baby's movement from around 28 weeks. Spend 10 minutes each day paying attention to how your baby moves. If you notice a significant decrease or the baby has been still for 12 hours, go to the hospital for monitoring. Don't wait. And then number three, build your cycle. Choose two people, is it your partner, is it your mom or close friend, and tell them the warning signs. Show them this video because when you are the one who is unwell, sometimes you need someone else to be your voice. And then number four, ask questions at every appointment. Specifically, what is my blood pressure today? Has it changed? Is it high? Is it low? No, you should know all those things, and it's always good to ask questions. And then also, has my urine be tested? Those are the kind of questions you should be asking your doctor. Has my urine be tested for protein? Am I measuring correctly for my dates? What should I watch out for before my next appointment? These are not difficult questions to ask. So please do ask them because you deserve answers. And if you're a partner, a parent, or support person for someone who is pregnant, your job is not to carry the baby bag. Your job is to be informed, to notice, to ask, and then to advocate. So ask her how she's feeling and not just physically, but emotionally. Ask if anything feels different or if anything feels different or go to at least one or two antenatal appointments with her so you know the baseline, you know the warning signs, and if she says something is wrong, believe her first, take her seriously, go to the hospital together. And also for everyone watching, whether or not you're close to pregnancy right now, you can share what you've learned today and WhatsApp a family group, you know, post on your story, tell a friend. Knowledge is only powerful when it moves and when it reaches the person who needs it. Every share of this video is potentially a life. So I mean that literally someone will watch this video because you shared it and they will, and one day, you know, girl will be pregnant for those that are not, and then they will recognize the warning signs, and also they will go to hospital, and also and they will survive from what that is after from the warning signs that they've learned today. So that chain of events is is possible, and it has already happened, and it will happen again. So um before I close, I want to say one thing about right, because I think people don't hear this enough. You have the right to be seen with dignity. You have the right to have your symptoms taken seriously, and you also have the right to ask for for second opinion without being made to feel like you're being difficult. So you also have the right to information about your condition, in language you can understand. You have the right to bring someone with you. You have the right to refuse a procedure and to have that refusal respected. And if you feel that a healthcare provider has failed you, you have the right to report it, to escalate, to make noise. So your life is not an inconvenience. Your pain is not an overreaction. You are allowed to insist. So um, like I said earlier on, for those of you that are listening, thank you so much. And also, if you have any question, please drop on the comment section. And um, please, if you have any question, please drop on the comment section. So, maternal health is not a niche issue. It is not a woman's issue in some separate box. It is a family issue, a community issue, a human issue. So every single one of us enter the world through a woman's body. So we owe it to each other and to the next generation to make those journeys safe. So Amina deserved better. Her name deserved to be a grandmother's name. A grandmother who would have spoiled Daniel rotten and even embraced him at school, at school events. She deserves the kids. She deserves more. We cannot give her those things, but we can take what happened to her and transform it into something that protects someone else. And that's the most powerful thing, the most powerful um, thing grief can become. So we can be the people who noticed, who speaks, who acts. We can build communities where no woman says something is wrong and is sent home without answers. That world is possible, and it starts in rooms like this one. So that is the end for today. So we want you to join me next Thursday. And sorry for our viewers watching. I hope this story really touched you. And also, if you know anyone that is suffering from this, please do well. You know, use today's topic to tell others that are suffering from this. So you don't have to be silent. You need to let other knows, your friends, your family, your relatives to know the warning signs. So I want you to join me next Thursday, same time, same place, and And then next week, we're going to be talking about the mental health in pregnancy and after birth no, because it's a topic that nobody really talks about, and that is why we'll be treating that next week. And honestly, same energy, and I will be here. So before you go, if this section meant something to you, if you've learned something today, if you've thought of someone you're going to call or text after this, please like this video, leave a comment, to subscribe to this channel, because you never can know who may see it, and share it, and also share it with one person, and because you never might know who may be going through the same issue that Amina was going through. So thank you for being here today, and also check up on someone you love, and I'll see you next week. Take care of yourself.